Picture this: a young Roman boy from a modest but ambitious family grew up dreaming of a glory in a world teetering on chaos. Fast forward a few decades and that boy has conquered vast land, rewritten the rules of politics, and transformed an entire republic into an empire. This isn't just some dusty tale from ancient history. It's a saga of ambition, betrayal, and raw charisma. Julius Caesar was more than just a man in a toga. He was a game changer, a visionary, and let's face it, a magnet for drama. How did he rise so high, and why did his own friend plunge the dagger that ended his story? Grab your laurel wreath and strap in, because we're diving into the life of the man who turned ancient Rome into his personal chessboard and paid the ultimate price for it. Humble beginning with a hint of glory. Born in 100 BC or thereabouts, Romans were a little loose with birth certificates. Gaius Julius Caesar came from a patrician family that has seen better days, while his ancestors had ties to the gods, Venus herself, if you believe their PR. The family wasn't exactly rolling in gold. Young Caesar grew up during Rome's turbulent late republic, where powers were split among the scheming senators, ruthless generals, and the occasional riotous mob. Caesar caught his first whiff of political intrigue as a teenager when his uncle Gaius Marius led a popular faction against the aristocratic elite. These early years were like a soap opera, full of exile, civil wars, and power struggles. By the time Caesar was 16, his father had died, leaving him head of the family. He dodged death threats, married strategically, and was briefly exiled for refusing to divorce her, proving early on the defiance ran in his veins. The ambitious upstart. To build his clout, Caesar left Rome and joined the military, earning a reputation as a fearless soldier and savvy operator. Returning home, he climbed the political ladder like a man possessed. He became a priest, a prosecutor, and eventually the Pontifex Maximus, think chief religious officer of Rome. But Caesar didn't just play the game, he changed it. He borrowed money to stage extravagant gladiatorial games, charming the Roman masses. He allied with powerful figures like Pompey the Great and Crassus, forming the first triumvirate, a secret pact to the dominant Roman polity. Think of it as Rome's first dysfunctional power trio. Conquest, charisma, and crossing the Rubicon. As consul in 59 BC, Caesar introduced reform that irked the Senate but delighted the commoners. Then came his magnum opus, the Gallic Wars. For a nearly decade, Caesar expanded Rome's territory, showcasing military genius and unyielding ambition. He turned his legions into a loyal, battle-hardened force and himself into a legend. When Caesar famously crossed the Rubicon River in 49 BC, it wasn't just a geographically move, it was a declaration of civil war. The phrase crossing the Rubicon still resonates today because it meant that there was no turning back. His former ally Pompey fled, and Caesar's forces chased him across Mediterranean until Pompey met a grisly end in Egypt. Dictator for life. Almost. Back in Rome, Caesar declared himself dictator, a rule meant to be temporary but in Caesar's hand became dangerously close to kingship. He launched reform to stabilize the republic, restructuring debt, reforming the calendar, hello July, and expanding citizenship, but this move ruffles the feathers of the Senate, who saw him as a threat to their power. Despite the growing arrogance, or perhaps because of it, Caesar remained a populist icon. He threw lavish games, rewarded soldiers, and maintained an aura of invincibility. His relationship with Cleopatra added a layer of scandal and intrigue, making him the adorn and envy. the Ides of March. All good things come to an end, and Caesar's meteoric rise was no exception. On March 15, 44 BC, the famous Ides of March, a group of senators, include his close friend Brutus, decided enough was enough. They stabbed Caesar 23 times on the Senate floor, ending his life and plunging Rome into chaos. His final words, et tu, Brute, if Shakespeare is to be believed, remain a haunting reminder of betrayal, sting, yet even in death, Caesar's influence remains. Before the Rubicon, building power. Before his dramatic crossing of the Rubicon, Caesar wasn't just biding his time. He was masterfully setting the stage as governor of Gaul, modern-day France and Belgium. He didn't just oversee the region, he turned it into his playground for conquest. With shrewd diplomacy and unmatched military skills, he expanded Rome borders while simultaneously building a fanatically royal army. The Gallic War weren't just about expanding the Roman Republic. They were about Caesar solidifying his reputation. His commentaries on the campaign, Commentari di Bello Gallico, were masterworks of propaganda, written in the third person. They painted him as a brilliant strategist and benevolent conqueror, like a TED Talk on steroid, but with more spears. Meanwhile, back in Rome, Caesar's political enemies were sharpening their knives. His increasing popularity among the masses made the Senate nervous, and his alliances with Pompey and Crassus, the first triumvirate, was fraying. Crassus, the moneybags of the trio, had met his end in a disastrous campaign in Parthia, and Pompey, once Caesar's ally, was now his rival. Crossing the Rubicon, a gamble for greatness. The year 49 BC was a turning point in Caesar's life, and in Roman history, facing order to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen. Caesar made this bold decision to march on the city instead. The Rubicon River marked the boundary he wasn't supposed to cross with his troops. By doing so, he declared war on the Senate and Pompey. The die is cast. Was Caesar's alleged remark as he crossed the Rubicon. It was more than just a soundbite. It was the moment he risked everything. The civil war that followed saw Caesar facing Pompey's forces across the Mediterranean. His victories weren't just military, they were psychological. Caesar's ability to inspire loyalty in his troops was unparalleled. His soldiers followed him not just out of duty, but out of love and respect, a rare phenomenon in Roman warfare. The fall of Pompey and the Egyptian entanglement. Pompey fled to Greece, where he gathered his forces, but Caesar pursued him with relentless determination. In 48 BC, Caesar decisively defeated Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus. Pompey fled again, this time to Egypt, where he hoped for sanctuary. Instead, he found betrayal. The Egyptian ruler had him assassinated, hoping to curry favor with Caesar. When Caesar arrived in Egypt, he wasn't pleased by the sight of Pompey's severed head. He condemned the act and involved himself in Egyptian politics because, of course, Caesar never passed up a chance to make history. This is where Cleopatra enters the story. The young queen of Egypt charmed Caesar, and their alliances, both political and personal, became a legend. Cleopatra wasn't just a beautiful queen. She was a savvy politician who saw Caesar as her ticket to consolidating power in Egypt. Together, they had a son, Caesarion, though Caesar never officially acknowledged him as his heir. Return to Rome, reform, and resentment. After tidying up affairs in Egypt, Caesar returned to Rome as the undisputed victor of the civil war. His ambitions extended beyond military conquest. He implemented sweeping reforms. The calendar. Tired of Roman chaotic calendar system, Caesar instituted the Julian calendar, which formed the basis of the one we use today. Fun fact, the month of July was named in his honor. Economic reform. He reduced debt, reformed land distribution, and provided for veterans. Citizenship expansion. Caesar granted citizenship to many in the provinces, spreading Roman identity far and wide. But for all his achievements, Caesar's growing power unnerved the Senate. They feared he was undermining the Republic and aiming to crown himself king, a title Roman loathed. His acceptance of honor, like being named Dictator for life, didn't help matters. Caesar, the man, ambition and charisma. Julius Caesar wasn't just a military genius, he was a master of public relations and a charismatic leader. He knew how to work a crowd, whether by staging lavish games or making speeches that stirred hearts. His personal life too added to his mystique. Though married to Calpurnia, Caesar's love affair with Cleopatra scandalized Rome. Their relationship wasn't just tabloid fodder. It symbolized his blending of Roman and foreign world. Cleopatra's visit to Rome in 46 BC with their son in tow added fuel to the gossip fire. Caesar's ability to inspire loyalty extended beyond his soldier. He was adored by the Roman lower classes who saw him as a champion of their rights. His reform often favored the common people at the expense of the elite, earning his enemies among the Senate. The conspiracy. The road to the Ides of March. Caesar's popularity and power made him a target. A group of Senates, calling themselves the Liberators, decided that Caesar's ambition was a threat to the Republic. Among them were figures like Cassius and Brutus, the latter of whom had been one of Caesar's trusted allies. On March 15, 44 BC, the Ides of March, Caesar attended a Senate meeting at the theater of Pompeii. Despite warning from soothsayers, beware the Ides of March, and even his wife ominous dreams, Caesar dismissed concern. He believed his position was unassailable. As he entered the Senate, the conspirators surrounded him. The first stab came from Casca, and soon the others followed. Caesar, allegedly seeing Brutus among the attackers, uttered the famous word "et tu, Brute," before collapsing under the weight of 23 stabs wounds. Aftermath. Caesar's legacy lives on. Caesar's assassination plunged Rome into chaos. The conspirators had hoped to restore the Republic, but they underestimated Caesar's popularity and the loyalty he inspired. Mark Antony, one of Caesar's closest allies, famously delivered a funeral oration that turned public opinion against the conspirators. In Shakespeare's dramatization, Antony's speech, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears," incited a riot showcasing the raw power of Caesar's legacy. In the years that followed, Rome descended into a further civil war. Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, later Augustus, ultimately triumphed, establishing the Roman Empire. Though Caesar himself never held the title of emperor, his life and death paved the way from Rome's transition from republic to empire. The man who changed Rome forever. Julius Caesar's life read like an epic novel, a tale of humble beginning, meteoric rise, breathtaking ambition, and dramatic downfall. He was a man of contradiction, a ruthless general who showed mercy to enemies, a populist who defied the elite, and a dictator who claimed to serve the Republic. His impact was profound. Though his military conquest, reform, and political maneuvers, Caesar didn't just shape his era. He set the stage for the Roman Empire. His death was supposed to save the Republic, but instead it marked the beginning of the end. Even today, Caesar's name resonates. From the month of July to the title Caesar, adopted by emperors and even modern leaders like the German Kaiser or the Russian Tsars, his legacy is everywhere. Love him or hate him, there's no denying that Caesar changed the course of history. So, here's a question for you. If Julius Caesar had managed to avoid assassination, How do you think his continued rule would have shaped Rome's future? And was Caesar's ambition a virtue or flaw? Could Rome have survived as a republic, or was its transformation into an empire inevitable? Let us know in the comments below. Ready for more royal intrigue and timeless tale? Check out the next video on screen to uncover another fascinating chapter in history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all things royal. See you in the next video.